My name is Sarah Brookes. I currently have a communications consultancy called Brookes Sport, but I worked for a long time in football. It sounds like a cliche, but to work hard and to actually give yourself a point of difference, to understand what the marketplace is, to really stay ahead of trends and changes in football, but not just in football, in the entire kind of sporting landscape and the landscape of whatever the chosen sector is, so whether it's marketing or commercial, to actually really understand what the trends are saying and to make sure that you are able to offer a point of difference to any brand that you go into work for. Doing your research, making sure that whenever you go for a job, whenever you're talking to people and you're trying to think about your next step, that you're actually understanding the brand, understanding who they are, what they stand for, what their fan base is, and being able to offer a point of difference, because that's essentially what employers look for. They want to know that you can add value to them as an organisation and that you can do that quickly and smartly. So always do your research. I think it's fantastic in terms of the opportunities. I also think it's fairly groundbreaking in terms of what it does, because it gives you a real insight into working in the business of sport. And I don't think that you can get that from another kind of degree. I think it's very specific, and therefore it has opportunities that really give you a step ahead when it comes to trying to work in the sports industry, which is intensely competitive. And for every one job that goes for a lower level, for a start out position like a marketing executive or a PR executive, you're talking about 200 or 300 CVs that people get. So when you have a sports specific background, when you've had training in a particular area that is specific to the organisation that you're trying to work for, it really gives you an enhanced potential of being able to secure that position. I think the growth of women's football is phenomenal. Talking to some students, I remembered that Fulham were the first football club to have a professional women's team, and that was 15 or 16 years ago now. Mohammed Al Fayed saw the potential of women's football because of how successful it was in America, and he invested over £1 million in women's football at the time to have the first ever professional team. They went on to win absolutely everything, but the emphasis was that actually the FA would have a professional league at some point. And then 5, 6, 7 years later it still hadn't happened, so he was really disappointed by that. But for me now to see how big it's become again and how the growth is really pushing the game on, it's wonderful. And then also to see some of the players have roles now in the media talking about football, which I think is, one, it's not before time, it should have happened sooner, but the fact that it's actually happening now I think is fantastic. It's grown significantly since I started. When I first started at Fulham, I was one of a handful of women that worked in the club and also in the industry. And at one point in the Premier League, I think I was the most senior person in the boardroom in Premier League football. It was, I think West Ham had been relegated, so Karen Brady wasn't around, but there just aren't enough and weren't enough women in the boardroom, and there still aren't. It is changing, but it's changing quite slowly. It's very competitive, and the roles that usually were taken by women were that of commercial sponsorship roles and potentially press roles, but not as many as men. But it is growing, it is changing, not quickly enough again, but it's certainly come a long way since I first started in football. Beating Juventus 4-1 at Craven Cottage, it doesn't get any better than that. I think all of my decorum of having to sit in the press box and be completely neutral and not shout or make a noise when a goal was scored, it went completely out of the window when Clint Dempsey put that chip into the corner of the net. I lost it. And then the following day I had to get up and go to Geneva for the draw for the next round, so it was fairly awesome. That was one of my main highlights at Fulham.